Hello and welcome to Weekly MTG. I'm your host, Blake Rasmussen, but today you're here to hear from Director of Play Programs, Billy Jensen, sitting over my left shoulder, over here.
We're just a few feet apart.
Just a few feet apart, right nearby. Thanks for joining us, Billy. We are going to spend today talking about play, all kinds of play programs. We're going to talk RCQ updates, the announcement we made last week. We're going to dive into that, talk a little bit more about the details and why and what and all that sort of jazz. We are going to unveil the next round of play promos. And then Billy and I are going to spend some time gushing about the upcoming Return to Tabletop Pro Tour in Philadelphia at Pro Tour 1. I'm already going to start. I'm super excited for this. We had the meeting this morning, and it's bringing back all the feelings. I don't know about you, Billy.
I don't remember any Pro Tours. No, I'm very happy to be going. I'm very happy to be a part of bringing the Pro Tour back. I'm excited to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time, and hopefully, make some new friends even. So I can't wait. My flight's in about a little over a week, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Same. Okay, we'll get to the Pro Tour in a little bit, although you'll probably hear us interject about that now and then. That's how excited we are for it. First, before we get into it, a couple reminders for today. First of all, Phyrexia All Will Be One is releasing digitally today, so on Magic the Gathering Arena and Magic the Gathering Online. It is available today. Additionally, if you are one of the players who came out for the huge pre-releases we had this past weekend and enjoyed Phyrexia All Will Be One, remember that MagicCon Philly has a ton of ways to play with Phyrexia All Will Be One, plus a ton of ways to play other things. Like I said, we were going through the presentation this morning, and the hall and the play space and everything is absolutely huge. So if you haven't purchased your tickets to MagicCon Philly yet, there is still time. All right, let's talk about the RCQ updates to kick things off. So we did announce these on social last week. We're going to have an article going up at the conclusion of this show. But Billy, why don't you tell us a little bit about what change we made to the RCQs and why?
Yeah, so over the last year, we've had 2.5 qualifying rounds. A piece of feedback that I often received as well as observed in community discussion was that it was somewhat hard for players to participate in sort of a robust way in the system because there were just so many available formats. Mm-hmm. So to sort of try to alleviate that concern and listen to the feedback, what we decided to do was make each regional championship qualifying round adhere to a specific constructed format with a limited option for places that, like to play limited or don't have a huge audience for that specific format. So like we said last week, Season 2, Round 1 is going to be Pioneer. Season 2, Round 2 is going to be Modern, and the plan for Season 2, Round 3 will be Standard, though that's still about a year away.
Yeah, about a year away. Okay, so Pioneer, then Modern, and that answers one of the first questions in chat, which is Modern qualifiers when, which was,
that's
I know,
when.
That's when. Actually, you know what, speaking of when, because you just named off a couple seasons and everything, let's align ourselves on what all of these dates mean. So if we can put the upcoming dates graphic up on the screen. Okay, so Pro Tour Philadelphia, you might hear us talk about that here and there. And then Pioneer RCQ round, so that is the qualifying path that will get you to PT3. That starts April 22nd and runs through August 20th. Pro Tour.
That's actually for PT4.
Oh, it is for PT4. Oh, we have that wrong on the graphic. Okay, apologies.
We're off by one.
Off by one. Okay.
Sorry about that. I should have caught that.
And then Pro Tour 2, which is Minneapolis, May 5th through 7th. That one is happening in Minneapolis. Then we've got May 20th through July 2nd is the regional championship. Is that one still for PT3?
That's for PT3. Yeah.
Okay, great. That feeds Barcelona, which is happening July 28th through 30th. And then the September to December, we'll have the exact dates coming up. But that'll be the modern RCQ round, which will head towards PT4. And then five. All right, so we bumped those numbers up on the RCQ rounds. And then September 3rd to November 26th, regional championships for PT4. And then the standard RCQ round that he alluded to will be sometime in early 2024. So, yeah, go ahead.
Another point I want to just make is, for the sake of, required formats or whatever, there are ways to qualify for the regional championship outside of regional championship qualifiers. There's the obvious digital path. That doesn't necessarily adhere to these formats. I mean, in the case of Arena, for instance, you can't play Modern, and Pioneer. So digital and what we call destination events, which are events that take place outside of WPN store, which vary by region, those are still up to the organizer. So it's definitely still possible in most cases to qualify for the regional championships playing different formats. However, the in-store play will be focused on those things to make it easier for players to communicate across regions, state lines, and content creators have something to focus on to produce content to make sure they're hitting the majority of their audience and not just like, throwing darts. Well, 30% are going to play this weekend and 20% are going to play this. So we hope this allows people to focus on a format. We hope it allows us to really showcase those formats. And we hope it alleviates some of the concerns people had and were voicing over the first, 3 rounds.
Yeah. No, I remember early on listening to the podcast that Jerry and Brian have, Arena Deckless podcast, I think it's called. And they were talking about the fact they wanted to participate in multiple events one weekend after another, but one was Modern, one was Pioneer, and keeping up with both formats. Having decks for both was a challenge even for them. And so that was kind of the feedback that you were trying to address here, correct?
Yeah, they are one piece of that feedback, but I heard it, I saw it, I guess, repeatedly in social media spaces. And also when I was on the ground at the first United States Regional Championship in Atlanta, I had several players come up to me, providing various pieces of feedback, and that was a very common one.
Yeah, and I also liked what you said about content creators. It has felt a little, as someone who lives in the content creation space, it's felt a bit scattered about, so-and-so's talking about Modern, so-and-so's talking about Pioneer, so-and-so's talking about Standard, and then Limited, and it is nice to allow content creators to all focus on a thing at the same time, and then you get a lot of people all talking about the same format. It feels like that communal experience a bit more.
I totally agree. I think content creators are very important to the ecosystem. I think sort of helping them with some guidance on a clear path that can touch and impact the most of their viewers, readers, listeners, whatever medium they happen to be on, is a good thing to do. And I hope that everybody enjoys the system in, this sort of next iteration.
All right. We are going to be taking questions throughout the show. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in chat. If they're relevant to the thing we're talking about, we'll answer them right then and there if I spot them. Otherwise, we'll hold them for the Q&A section at the end. So here's a good question from Frank Carson. Of course, it's a great question. All right. Billy, is the vision to match RCQ formats with the corresponding regional championship and Pro Tour? For example, a Modern RCQ season qualifying for a Modern regional championship, which in turn feeds a Modern Pro Tour.
Good question. So the answer is partly yes. For season 2, the RCQ rounds will match the RC, but the RC will not necessarily match the Pro Tour. A big part of the reason is when you get to talking about RCQ round to RC to Pro Tour, you're covering such a wide length of time, like, 9 months roughly, maybe slightly longer in some cases, maybe slightly shorter in others. it's not always the case that the format we want to be showcasing is the same at that interval. I think that once you're getting to the Pro Tour, expecting people to learn a second format is a reasonable ask, or a different format, maybe a second format is the wrong word. But at least for season 2, the RCQ rounds will match the RC, but not necessarily the Pro Tour. Though we'll have more information about the Pro Tour formats at a later date.
Okay. With this change, here's another question from chat. Do you envision there being more standard format regional championships?
The round that's fed by standard will have standard RCs. I think the first year is going to have one. The second year is going to have one. So I think that number should be pretty much equal in terms of the number of regional championships.
Okay. Are we still getting limited RCQs, RCs, and PTs? This is because a lot of the focus is on formats, but it's good to underline the limited part as well.
Yeah, so the RCQs are left up to the organizer. So for example, in round 4, the organizer can choose between Pioneer and Limited. In round 5, or season 2, round 1, Pioneer and Limited. Season 2, round 2, Modern or Limited, and season 2, round 3, Standard or Limited. There's no current plan for the regional championships to have a limited component, though we are continuing to keep the limited component of the Pro Tour.
All right. I have a number of questions kind of in this same space, so I'll just ask it generally. As we're going through the number of slots given to different regions, given to different digital paths, do you all continually review the number of slots to make sure it's appropriate for attendance and all that sort of stuff?
The number of slots specifically, you're asking from like qualifier to RC?
From
RC to Pro Tour?
to Pro Tour.
Yeah, so we regularly take a holistic view of the system. I will say that I think one thing that people have a tendency to do is only look at the size of an RC when trying to make the argument for the number of slots from that RC. And when taking a more holistic view, I'll just give you an example. I don't want you to infer anything specific about what I'm saying, but when one person goes and plays in an RCQ, how often does that person end up playing in the Pro Tour? Is also a very important metric.
Okay. All right, I think that covers us for questions for now. There is a question about event discussion. We'll talk about MagicCon Philadelphia in a moment. Well, actually, you know what? This is a good question. Billy, you were a longtime player. Do you have any advice how to prepare for playing Standard in small communities where only Pioneer and Modern have been played for the last 2 to 3 years?
Well, in my opinion, in terms of, if I'm reading the question literally, apologies if I'm not, like if you're asking about the best way to prepare, I think Arena is a very effective way to prepare for Standard. Now, if you're asking about how to prepare, including like the mechanics of using paper cards, that's a more challenging question that's probably pretty specific to your area. I had a lot of success, and I don't know if this is the best advice, but I had a lot of success just networking and making friends and finding people to play with, especially when I was younger and up and coming. Of course, I played in Magic tournaments before we had the internet in my house. So, like, we're talking about a different era.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of Standard played on Magic Arena. I definitely think it's a great place to test your ideas and test your chops.
All right. Okay. Feel free to keep putting RCQ, Regional Championship, Pro Tour, and format-focused questions in chat. We'll grab them as we can. But we do want to unveil the next round of promos as well. So these are promos you can get for participating in or doing well in the RCQ RCPT system. So let's take a look at the first one. And this is Unholy Heat with art by Cabral, I think is how you pronounce it. This is the RCQ participation promo. Billy, do you want to talk a little bit about this one? And for those who haven't seen the Secret Lair promos before.
Yeah, Secret Lair prize cards, I think. And this is the participation prize for Season 2, Round 1, the Pioneer season. Unholy Heat, 2 damage target creature, Planeswalker, and with Delirium, 6 damage, extremely efficient, powerful removal for just 1 mana, and pretty awesome art, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, next one, we have Eldritch Evolution Top Finishers. So, Billy, who does this one go to?
So this is for top finishers in RCQs. Often the top 8. It could be slightly more, slightly less, depending on the specific event. And this is sort of like a one-time birthing pod, but that goes up the chain a bit harder. 3 mana, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a creature with converted mana cost X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value. Another card with really cool art. You can kind of see the, I don't know, is that a werewolf mutating or being mutated into? I can't tell.
No. It's wild, whatever it is. We could look up the art description. We have that power. Okay, so those are the RCQ promos, and then the regional or prize cards. Regional championships, we have this beauty, Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
I love this card.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
I've played a lot of Ugin. This is going to go to all participants in regional championships of Season 2, Round 1. Ugin the Spirit Dragon, super powerful planeswalker. I think shows up a lot in big mana decks due to the -X being able to just have tremendous impact, clear the board right as Ugin comes onto the battlefield. Ugin is one of those unique cards that's capable of just getting in play and basically winning the game all by itself.
Absolutely. So yeah, those 3 promos are available for participating in an RCQ, doing well enough to qualify at an RCQ, and then also participating in a regional championship. So those are for the upcoming season. We do have a season currently going on, which still uses the whatever format local stores want to run, but there are prize cards going on for those right now. We've got Mystical Dispute. That's the current RCQ participation one.
Yeah, with really awesome art. Mystical Dispute's basically been a staple in plenty of main decks and a lot of sideboards ever since it got printed. Cheap, efficient counter magic that's even cheaper and more efficient against opposing counter magic or blue cards. This is the Season 1, Round 3 RCQ participation prize card, and a real beauty in my opinion.
Yeah. And then next up is, this is probably my favorite one so far, Thing in the Ice.
Yeah. This is really cool too. This is another card that's seen a fair amount of play over the past few years, probably most notably in Modern Phoenix a while back, at least that I can think of, at least in my time.
It got played a little bit in Pioneer too, yeah.
In Pioneer too, yep.
Yeah.
A flip card, when cast 4 spells, flip it, bounce everything, and have a 7/8 on like the 4th or 5th turn. Very powerful, very cool looking art. You can literally see it in the ice and breaking out of the ice. A big fan of that prize card.
Yep. And then finally, this is the current regional championship participation prize card.
Yeah, so this will be the 3rd regional championship participation prize card. Snapcaster Mage, on the short list of best creatures of all time. Really awesome art and really awesome card.
Yeah. Now there were a couple good questions in chat about these that were pointing out that some of the prize cards for the Pioneer season aren't Pioneer cards. Can you talk a little bit about the timing of how that was determined and how that played out?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the cards were just sort of, look, I mean, when we have to sort of do requests to get these kind of assets done, the timeline is very long. The decision to do the format change happened after these requests. So it's true that potentially you could play an RCQ and get a really cool prize card that's not legal in that format, but hopefully it'll be legal in the next season or just cool in, you know, another deck that you have for a different format or just special to you in some way.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, they'll definitely see play. Let's see. I'm trying to see which of these questions we can answer. So there is a question about pricing and prizing for regional championships and regional championship qualifiers. It is worth noting, I don't know if you want to expand on this, but it is worth noting that those are set by those tournament organizers. And so it depends on the regional tournament organizer. It depends on the store. It varies from place to place. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Okay. All right. So next, you can keep putting questions in chat. We'll grab them as we can. I want to talk a little bit about the Pro Tour coming up. Now, obviously, it's being housed inside of Magic Con Philadelphia. All of this is happening the 17th through the 19th. So as Billy said, we're flying out there next week. We're really excited about it. Billy, tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the return to Tabletop Pro Tours.
Well, we've got 2 days of coverage, 3 days of coverage, excuse me. Don't get mad at me. We have, it's basically the structural format of the Pro Tour is similar to Pro Tours of old. 16 rounds, 6 rounds of draft, 10 rounds of Pioneer, with the Pioneer top 8. I am super duper excited to see the return to Tabletop Limited. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen it. I am intending to be there bright and early and walk around and take in as much of the action as I can. I'm quite curious to see if one of the legends makes a return, takes down the first Pro Tour of the new system, or if some of our new up-and-comers, maybe our world champion, Nathan Stoyer, somebody like that sort of starts to leave their mark on the new system. One thing's for sure, we should see some very high-level competition, and I'm expecting an awesome event.
Yeah, I think it will be really interesting because there was always this dance between the new players and the old guard, and we've now had this multi-year pandemic gap where a lot of play has been digital, which has brought up a lot of younger players. And we often, in the past, saw new players infused into the system through digital play. Reduke was one of them, and now he is among the old guard. How are you expecting that to play out at this Pro Tour?
Well, if you look at the World Championship that we had in, what was it, November? I would say that the old guard didn't fare so great against the new guard. Eli Cassis, he made top 4. The rest of the top 4, I think, were pretty new or at least younger players. I think that just based on my interactions with many of them in the player lounge at that event and stuff, a lot of them have the fire and they're ready to prove something. And I would not be surprised to see them do that.
Okay. For coverage, can you talk a little bit for those who may be new to our system? What can people expect from coverage over those couple days?
So we could put the graphic back up, maybe. So on Friday and Saturday, the 17th and 18th, we'll be starting at those times, 11 Eastern. I think the plan is to basically have some pre-roll, so we get to show a lot of Magic without a lot of interruption for a while as we catch up to the day. And then on Sunday, I think that it'll be somewhat similar, although I think we're starting at the same time as the tournament itself. And I know that there'll be later in the day for people on site that the coverage will be moved to the main stage.
Yeah. And I did see a question in chat about the on-site talent who's going to be hosting this thing, so I'll read it off real quick. So there is, if you head to dailymtg.com right now or magic.gg, you can see the Pro Tour Phyrexia Viewer's Guide, which is going to have a lot of this information. But for those of you following along on this, so it's going to be a lot of familiar faces. So Maria Bartoldi, Alias V, Paul Cheon, Cedric, Marshall, Manny, Corey, all of those folks are going to be present and doing a lot of the coverage. So it's going to feel very familiar.
All the goats.
All the best at what they do. Yeah, no, I'm excited for that part. I'm going to be on site as well, so I don't know how much coverage I'm going to get to watch, but I'm definitely going to wander around the Pro Tour Hall and just watch matches like we did back in the old days. Do you
the good old days even.
The good old days. Do you miss competing at these sort of events?
Yeah, I do. Look, I'm 40. I'm getting old. It was a lot. It was a lot of work, a lot of effort to try to do really well. A lot of that was fun, but I don't know. By the time I was towards the end of my career, when I first started playing Magic, I was going to the Pro Tours. I lived for it. I would go, I'd play the Pro Tour. I'd stay up 6 hours after the Pro Tour drafting and sleep for 4 hours and do it all again. By the end of my career, it was like I play the Pro Tour and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. Do I really want to go to dinner? I could just go to bed. You know what I mean? And so I do miss it because I love competition, but I'm also happy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple questions here. So Philadelphia has direct qualifying PTQs, so just straight up Pro Tour qualifiers. Is it the intention to hold additional PTQs at upcoming Magic Cons as well, like Minneapolis and Barcelona?
I don't think we have the event schedule out yet for Minneapolis and Barcelona. Definitely we'll see how it goes in Philadelphia. I wouldn't rule it out. Maybe I'd even say it's likely, but I'm not necessarily in a position to say with absolute certainty today that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Is the number of PT invites given out for Philly in line with what you were aiming for?
Good question. So a goal of our system was to get to about 300 people, plus or minus a few, once it hits its stride. Now, one challenge we had with the beginning of a new system is we don't really have, for example, the adjustment match point system looks back at the 3 previous Pro Tours. Well, right now we don't really have 3 previous Pro Tours to look at. So we did things like take people from the Streets of New Capenasset Championship, and we tried to calibrate pretty specifically numbers. The first Pro Tour in Philadelphia is going to be a little bit smaller. I don't know the exact number of how many butts we're going to have in seats, but I think it's going to be closer to 250 than 300, maybe even slightly lower. And as things hit stride and we do have stuff to look back on, we'll get to the point of about 300 over time.
Yep. Okay, I am seeing multiple questions about GPs and Magic Fests. That's what Magic Cons are. So if the questions are we going to see Magic Fests again? That's what Magic Con essentially is. But if there's a different question in there, feel free to ask it. Let's see. Next question. Someone asked about Command Fests. Will we see Command Fests again?
Yeah, that's being worked on. I don't have a ton to share, but Command Fests will be back.
Yeah. We've actually talked. We have talked about announcement dates. We've gotten that far along.
Yeah, sure. There you
go. Let's see. Okay, so here's the more specific question. Will Magic Con feature an open main event like a Grand Prix?
The 2 marquee competitive events at Magic Con Philadelphia are the Secret Lair Showdown There'll be a secret layer showdown at each MagicCon for this year. The winner receiving a very awesome looking. I actually saw one physically for the first time like 3 days ago. Very awesome looking brainstorm. There'll only be 4 to be won this year, and with the top 32 at each location winning an awesome Ragavan and then a participation prize card, Fatal Push. So that's one of the marquee competitive events, and the other one in Philadelphia is the PTQ. If we continue to iterate on those things, which we may do, and there may be more things, we may iterate on those. We'll have that information later. I don't really have anything extra to share in that regard right now.
Okay. And I saw a question about when are we going to have more information on MagicCon Minneapolis. That information, I believe we're aiming for sometime in March. So look for more information on Minneapolis in March. We did have a question about when are you going to start streaming paper tournaments again? February 17th, turn it to twitch.tv/magic. But seriously, it has been a long time for all of us who've been in the building waiting to do this again. We love doing these events. We love streaming tabletop Magic. We love hosting these events. And I don't know that we can say anything more good about it. Yes. February 17th through 19th. We're really excited to bring Pro Tour Philadelphia. Are there expected to be any bans coming before Pro Tour 1?
I don't know. I'm certainly not expecting any, but I'm not promising there won't be any.
I think the answer is no at this point. God, they're going to run off. There's a Reddit thread. Billy Jensen says there may be bans before the event.
Yeah.
You're fine to test. All right, next question. When is the list for the 2023-2024 regional organizers going to be published?
That's season 2?
Sure. 2020. It just says 2023.
Year, right?
Well, I guess, yeah. 2023-2024. If that's season 2, then
that's been published.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what they currently are.
Yeah.
You may or may not be able to answer this. I'm not sure how deep into this you are. Can we expect updates to Event Link? There are some features that would be excellent to add to Event Link.
Let's see. I am actually somewhat involved in this. I'm in a fair amount of conversations about it. I don't really want to say yes and not be able to give you a timeline, but I definitely don't want to say no. So I guess the answer is I think so and I hope so.
Okay.
But I don't have a timeline.
Work is being done, but we don't have anything to announce publicly. Okay.
Right.
Why did I just see a Sholdred in a 1 draft? You can get the concept Praetors in draft packs, and the concept Praetors are all of the Praetors that have been printed since Call Time. The kind of one-ofs here and there. So you can see any one of the oldish Praetors, not the old Praetors, but the new old Praetors. Will there be viewing areas at the Pro Tour?
So, yes and no. The player lounge, I believe that the plan is for the player lounge to have a muted feed of the stream. And the main stage, Sunday afternoon, again, I think the time I heard was 2:30, that the main stage will flip over to coverage of the top 8.
Okay. Will we hear anything about a return or reboot of the Hall of Fame within the near to medium term?
I hope so.
Yeah, you're talking to a member of the Hall of Fame. It's definitely the right person to have in there. All right, let's see. Are there plans to expand promotion and advertising for the Pro Tour and other pro level events? A large amount of viewers on my stream, who are obviously fairly engaged, have no idea the Pro Tour is happening. The paper is back, etc. Many folks were unaware that Worlds happened either. Can we expect more of a promotional push this year with the return of the Pro Tour?
What do you think, Blake?
Yes. So I guess this is more my space. The answer is yes. So there is a lot that we are relearning. It's been several years since we've done these tabletop pro tours. The digital events that we've had, in a sense, have different paths for people knowing that they're happening, etc. And so we're relearning a lot. There's a lot of new people in place. So yes. Now you're especially going to see a lot in the coming weeks. So for people who are already qualified, they know. So we don't have to tell them about the Pro Tour. For people who are just tuning in to watch, this is about the time we start marketing and advertising and talking about the Pro Tour, because you don't need 4 months notice to know that the Pro Tour is back for your viewing. So you'll notice DailyMTG, Magic.gg, there's multiple pieces of content today that point to the Pro Tour. We have pieces of content, I think it's every day between now and the Pro Tour on both of those sites. We'll support them on social, etc. So I would imagine that engaged, not engaged, awareness of the Pro Tour and viewing the Pro Tour will go up as we go on. That's another reason we did this stream with this kind of timing, is we wanted to make people aware that the Pro Tour is back. So yes, but also we are just kicking off our marketing right now. All right, let's see. Is there still a chance that panels for MagicCon Philadelphia are going to be streamed? So no, here's what's going to happen. This is a great segue for me to talk about this, because I'm going to be on a panel. Yay. So I am doing the March of the Machine First Look panel on Sunday. Super exciting panel. Obviously, we want people to see that. It will not be streamed live, but what we'll be doing is recording it and literally taking that and immediately putting it onto YouTube. So on Sunday, after the panel's done, we'll take that file, we'll get it processed, we'll get it uploaded, and you'll be able to see the March of the Machine First Look. We're going to do that with every panel except for Game Nights Live, which is just too long and doesn't really make sense to do the same way. So they're not going to be live streamed, but they will all be available on YouTube after the fact. Great. Will there be a weekly MTG next week? No. So we are taking next week off as we all head to Philadelphia. The panel is basically replacing what would have been next Tuesday. So weekly MTG is off on Tuesday, but you'll see us on the following Sunday, and then a couple days after that as well. Okay, back to questions for Billy. Is there any discussion about having RCQ invites passed down?
There's certainly a lot of discussion around it. That is mostly a partner question, though. Mostly that's up to the organizer of how they run their stuff. In general, I will say, I understand the desire, but I think, having people playing in tournaments where they're already qualified and creating misaligned incentives often leads to outcomes that are not ideal, and sort of feel bads for people who are in those tournaments playing against people who are already qualified. Just my 2 cents. Not that, that's the be all end all. I respect the fact that some people who are already qualified want to play and stuff too. So I get both sides, but I sort of come down on the other side of it, I guess, on a personal level.
All right. Will there be something cool in organized play for the 30th anniversary, like the 25th Team Trio, other than products? We are working on some stuff. I don't think there's anything we can say about it, but I will say Magic's actual 30th birthday is the beginning of August. So think in that time frame. So we've been celebrating the 30th anniversary since late last year because we wanted to, and but Magic's actual 30th birthday is beginning of August. So look for more things in that space, which we'll talk about later. Let's see. We just have a compliment on your very cool Moxen display, Billy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Will Billy play on the Pro Tour? No, he's not allowed.
I was too good. They said you can't play anymore.
So we hired him, and yeah. There are a number of questions about revitalization or helping paper standard attendance and play and that sort of stuff. Can you talk to that at all?
Yeah. It's really, I kind of have given this answer before.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this with certainty. Like, we know, we Wizards, also me, I know, standard is not in the best place. We appreciate that there are many people, partners, stores, players, who would like it to be in a better place. We are discussing it, and we're trying to come up with a robust plan of what to do. Those discussions are very much ongoing, and we're going to try our best to do what's best for, you know, Magic and the community and competitive play and everything in the aggregate. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that's going to look like. That's just the truth. I don't.
Yep. Fair enough. Will old event coverage, which was temporarily lost on website update, return in the near future? So we are working on pulling in a lot of stuff that is not currently up, but I don't have a timeline or anything like that for you. Is limited still the best format?
Yep.
It's Canadian Highlander. Sorry.
I'm impartial. I'm supposed to be impartial.
All right. I think that covers all of the questions that we can answer and haven't already. Yes, there's going to be an update on the RCQ that article on the RCQ update is either up or going up shortly. That will also contain the new promos, the Unholy Heat, Eldritch Evolution, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Can we go ahead and, yes, there was an error on the important dates slide earlier. It had the wrong, oh, look at that. It's been fixed. So those are the upcoming important dates, February 17th through 19th. And then Pioneer RCQ round starts April 22nd. And look at that, Stibbs put the article in chat. There is no timeline for any more BNR announcements at this time. I will answer that one. All right, here's a good question to end on, Billy.
All right.
Big Strokes. It says we, but I'll ask for you specifically. Are you happy with where organized play is at / is going? I assume you have a vision for what you'd like to see. Do you think we're getting closer to that?
Good question. I like the direction we're headed in. I like the fact that organized play exists now in a space that's predominantly tabletop, mm-hmm. while still providing avenues, to people who are primarily interested in digital. I think we're trending in the right direction. I think we're doing a lot of things right. I don't want to get too much into specifics, but mm-hmm. I definitely think there's things we can improve. Like I said, we regularly take a holistic view of what's going on. And, we've been up and running for, I don't know, we announced the system in March 2022. It's February 2023. We haven't run our first Pro Tour yet. Do I think everything is perfect? No. Do I think things are trending well? I do. I think the structure of the system is sound. I will continue to do my best, and the team will continue to do their best to improve everything we can and provide the best customer, player, whatever experience that we can. I do listen to feedback, and I do try my best to, it's hard to make everybody happy too. It's not uncommon to get two very conflicting pieces of feedback within 5 minutes of each other. Yeah, I do think that over time we can continue to grow Premier play, competitive play, and that sort of just starts with the players. I like the fact that we can provide, the experience of competition, to me, certainly, is one that you really can't replicate. So the fact that we can provide that to our players, it means a lot to me. And I hope to continue to provide that experience in a more meaningful and more impactful way.
All right. I think that's a great place to end. So for everyone who missed the top of the show, you can head to either dailymtg.com or magic.gg to get the update on the RCQ change, as well as the new promos coming in the next round. For everyone who is as excited for the return of tabletop as we are, let's put the graphic back up. Perfect. Pro Tour Phyrexia starts February 17th through 19th. It'll be running the 17th, 18th, and 19th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the 17th and 18th. Sunday will kick off a bit earlier at 9 a.m., and we'll have Draft, we'll have Pioneer. It'll be on twitch.tv/Magic. Tabletop Magic is returned. Get excited, get hyped. Weekly MTG, as I said, will not be on next Tuesday. We are shifting that show over to Philadelphia. We're going to be on the main stage on Sunday early afternoon, and then the March of the Machine First Look will show up on YouTube after that. In the meantime, thank you, Billy, for joining us and answering a bunch of questions.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next weekish.